Welcome to the only place where real, raw, and vulnerable conversations happen with IFBB Bikini Pros to give you an inside look at their struggles, strategies, mindset, passions, and all of life beyond the stage. This podcast is made to inspire, motivate, and remind competitors and the average gym goer that even the most extreme lifestyles and elite athletes have their ups and downs. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I'm your host, Celeste Rains-Turk, and now it's time for the Confessions of a Bikini Pro podcast. Today, we are hearing from a dental hygienist and single mom of 2 kids who just recently started competing after using working out as an outlet after her husband passed away 7 years ago. In her first year of competing, she won an overall and 4 medals at her first show. Then with a sprained ankle, she went on stage to win a first in Open B and a second in Masters 35 and up class. And then 10 weeks later, she went on to win her classes in Masters and Open, which would technically mean she earned her pro card 2 times in the largest classes at the NPC universe. I am so excited to learn from and feature Huong Mai. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. So happy to be here. I'm completely honored to be sitting here talking to you about me. I've never in my life have I pictured myself doing this.
Really?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I've always listened to your episodes. I'm like, these are amazing people. It's so I'm so happy to hear their story, their journey. But like I said, I've never pictured myself being the one talking.
Wow. Oh my gosh. Well, that's always so freaking cool for me as the creator and host, because I'm like, that's what I would hope for, is that people listening, one day get the chance to be on the show sharing their story too.
No, it's great. It's great. It's been a great journey so far. But I'm happy to share every little thing that, your listeners, my followers would like to hear.
Yes. So before we get into it, I'm going to ask if there is a ritual you have right before your heel hits the stage.
Honestly, I just clear my head. You know what? I'm doing this for me. I tell myself I'm already a winner because the fact I'm able to step on stage for me and myself, I'm already a winner. And I tell myself that, I do a little prayer here and there, just kind of calm myself, calm my nerves. And, I tell myself, let's just go have fun. Whatever the result is at the end of the day, I'm already a winner. And it helps a lot.
I love that. I think when we can recognize the journey and the fulfillment of the journey and spending every single day dedicated to ourselves and our goals and the dream and our why, it makes any outcome rewarding, because the outcome wasn't, necessarily a title or a win. It was the fact that we had that experience day in and day out.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that.
So let's go to the beginning for you, because some people might hear your journey and think everything happened so fast, which I guess technically in the competing world it did, but there was a lot of work that went into your pro level physique before you stepped on stage for the first time. So can you take us back to when you started your fitness journey and how this supported you after losing your husband?
So my fitness journey started a little over 7 years ago. I've always been the cardio bunny. I've ran marathons. I was always afraid to, lift weights, because I don't want to be looking like a man. My husband was the one who you need to eat protein, you need to drink your protein shakes. So that way you can build the muscle you need. But, back then I'm like, I like my physique. I like to be skinny. I like to, be able to fit in my size 0 pants. But however, as I started becoming a dental hygienist, it's very hard on my body, especially with our posture, leaning over to, look into my patient's mouth. At the end of the day, I would go home in a lot of back pain. And it's got to a point where my husband was telling me, hey, your patients, your posture will be there because you have the muscles to actually help you sit yourself up. So he decided to put together a workout program for me to start working out. And I started, following his workout program. I started to feel good. At the end of the day, coming home from work, I wasn't in pain at all. So I knew this was actually good for me and my health and my body if I want to be a hygienist, long term. Um, so, I had my husband to thank, me to be where I'm at right now. When he passed away, it became my outlet. It became my, you know, it was a very, very hard journey when he passed away. And, I needed something to take my mind off of it. And, you know, I wasn't able to sleep, at night, just thinking about his death. So I was always at the gym, and it was my outlet to what I'm, going through. And the fact that my husband introduced me to, working out, I felt that whenever I went to the gym, I brought a little bit of him with me. So in a way, it was like a connection between me and him when I worked out.
Mm.
So yeah, and then since then I've been just stayed very consistent. I used it. There are days where, I didn't want to work out. I was exhausted being a single mom, working 40 hours a week. But then I thought to myself, like, you know what? I'm doing this for myself. I'm doing this for my husband. I don't want to let my husband down.
Yeah.
So that motivated me to just go to the gym. And, you know, at the end of the work, I'm like, you know what? I'm glad I did because I feel so much better. So, um, and then from there, it's just one thing led to another. I got bored at the gym. I decided to hire a coach as lifestyle at first. And
Mhm.
then lifestyle led to competition prep, and competition prep led to um, earning my pro card. So, like I said, the last year, it's been very quickly, but I'm a firm believer that when things happen quickly, it's meant to happen.
Mm.
So, yeah.
It's been an amazing journey just in general. Like if we take that broad outlook on it, you can really see
Hmm.
a strong woman who overcame adversity and showed up for herself. And
Hmm.
the death of your husband seems to have really been an influencer in that. And you said that there were times where you couldn't stop thinking about him or his death.
Hmm.
And how did you process and cope with that? Like, was the gym your main form, or did you use other things to help you?
Gym was my main form to really cope with his death. I've tried therapy, and I've tried group therapy at first because, in my culture, mental health is really not looked high upon.
Mhm.
We don't, we don't reach out for help with when it comes to therapy. It's one of the things where we kind of have to just suck it up and move on kind of culture. So therapy was not a main thing for me. It was hard for me to really open up to individual, professional.
Yeah.
So, when I moved down to Southern California for a fresh start, I'm like, you know what? I think I should try to consider therapy to see if it will help me. So I started with group therapy first. I'm like, you know what? Maybe a group of people who share the same, story or, would help me. But, I gave it a try for about 2, 3 months, but I didn't feel a connection to the group that I was at. A lot of them were older women who've, been with a husband for 30, 40 years. Um, and then their nature of death was, old age or cancer. I was, the youngest one in the group, and, I had my two little kids in the back,
Mm.
coloring and stuff like that. So I had to take them to therapy with me. Um, and when I told them about my story, a lot of them just gave me a look and be like, "Oh, honey, I'm sorry. I don't know what to
Mm.
say." So I stopped going because I just felt like I didn't get that connection, that help, that guidance I needed.
Yeah.
So I just continued to just go to the gym, ate healthy because I felt like that was a great distraction to what I'm dealing with on a daily basis. So it just really kept me disciplined. Um, just you know, I'm a very structured person as well. So that helped me kind of keep me in check as well. So yeah.
That's really amazing. So, as a mental health counselor in, I guess you could say, internship phase, by the time this come out,
Mhm.
I don't know if no, it won't be, it'll be out before I'm finished. But,
Mhm.
I hear things like this and I am reminded that, it's really not for, I think therapy is for everybody, but you have to find the right group or the right
Yeah.
therapist. And there's a lot of other ways that we can take the time to cope and heal. And there's other interests and outlets. And I think sometimes people get so stuck in this replay mode. I'm going to replay the bad things in my life rather than focus on new, positive, good things. And it seems like you really turned things around and found through the gym like an outlet that allowed you to invest back into yourself and your health. And I'm hoping you could maybe share in doing that, how did it influence the way that you saw life or yourself or even motherhood?
You know, my husband's death, I've learned so much from it, you know, just losing a loved one so close to you, you your outlook in life just completely changes 180, like,
Mhm.
you become non-judgmental, and you look at a human being, you're like, you know what? Like, why? Like, spread kindness to him because you don't know what he's dealing with, and just a single smile can change his life for that day, can make him the most happiest person ever, and I just tell myself, you know what? Be kind to yourself, be kind to people because you don't know what they're dealing with, and, you may have a hard day that day for whatever reason it may be. For example, you know, both my kids just got on my nerves for that day, and sometimes it's
Mhm.
hard, being a single mom and trying to get things, on track, getting them to school, going to work on time. Sometimes it can just hit my nerve like the wrong way. But sometimes I just kind of let it go and I'm like, take a deep breath, and just I constantly try to remind myself it could be worse. It
Mm.
could be worse. I just have to be kind to myself. And it's okay to make mistakes because I'm human. And I go to the gym, I go wherever I go, I try to put a smile on my face because it brings light to other people. People can feel your energy. And if they can take that energy from me, they'll feel much better about themselves.
Mhm.
So, and a lot of people did recognize that as well. I go to the gym 4 in the morning, and are people very happy 4 in the morning? No, they're half asleep. So
Mhm.
I try to bring that energy to the gym and I just work out. I'm very focused when I'm working out, but yet at the same time, when people come up, I talk to them with a smile, with energy and with enthusiasm. And, when I moved to Texas, a lot of them like, it's one thing I'm going to miss about you, Hong. I'm like, what is that? They're like, your energy, your smile, what you bring to the gym 4 in the morning. Like everybody's going to miss that.
Mhm.
And you don't realize it, how you make that small of an impact in somebody's life, just being yourself and being kind. So,
That is so true.
yeah.
Honestly, I've personally heard that a lot as well. And I remember after my mom died, people stopped complimenting me on like my bright
Mhm.
smile and how happy I am and I was like, something's changed in me. Like
Yeah.
something changed. And then I was like, I need to work to get that back because that's like a
Mhm.
huge part of who I am, is spreading the joy and the happiness and
Yes.
positivity. And you're right, we don't know what people are going through. And it it changes my day personally to show up and see people in the gym like every morning getting after it. Like you start having like a gym crew and
Oh,
it's like you hold each other accountable just by being there and showing up. And it's like, we have each other's back. And I think it's a great point you make about like just showing up, being happy, having that perspective, being kind can make such a big difference in not just the way we experience life, but others too.
yeah. Yeah, completely. I mean, you said it amazingly. So,
Mhm. Well, let's talk about how these experiences have informed your competition journey and really rising to the demands of the sport. Because I know personally, after I lost my mom, I was like, well, that's the hardest thing I'll probably ever go through over the next like 40 plus years of my life. I can't imagine something being more difficult.
Mhm.
So, well, let's hope not, right? But like,
Yeah.
I think that that really prepared me even more mentally for other difficulties where I'm like, nothing's as bad. Nothing now,
Yeah.
things can still be hard and I have really bad days, but I think it changed how I view that. So I'm curious how you went from lifestyle client to IFBB Pro in a matter of 2 years, and if that influenced your outlook or how you face those demands.
When I started, so let's see. I first started off as, a gym goer, and everyday gym goer, and I did my own workout plan. I ate as healthy as I can. And but it got to a point where, like, you know what, I'm bored at the gym. Like, gym is my outlet. I don't want to get bored, and I feel like, you know what, let's hire somebody to see if I can spark joy in going to the gym again.
Hmm.
So, social media, follow a bunch of, um, bodybuilders. And there's a couple that, I looked up to, and I'm like, oh my gosh, she has a great physique. I like how she looks. And I'm like, who is her coach? And that's when I started following Team Atlas. And,
Mhm.
I loved his transformation. I love the fact that he has a lifestyle portion of his coaching as well. So I'm like, you know what? Let's just try it out. 3 months. Let's see how it goes. And that joy came back. Yeah. I think I just needed somebody to tell me what to do, because yes, I use gym as an outlet, but it came to a point in my life that I wouldn't say abusing it, but I was going to the gym too much, that
Mm.
I didn't let my body recover when it needs to recover. So I was getting injured from left to right. And when that happened, I realized that mentally I was not stable because of what happened to my husband. I was using it, I was using gym. How do I put this? It just came to a point where when I was using the gym and I was getting injured too much, it was starting to reflect how unstable I was mentally.
Mhm.
Because physically I was starting to get injured from left to right. I'm like, I can't be doing this to myself, because,
Yes.
if I'm starting to get physically injured, I need to get my mind healthy. So that's when I hired James, because I knew I needed somebody to tell me, hey, you need a rest day, and if somebody tells me that, I'm like, okay, fine, I'm going to take that rest day. So, it in a way helped me become a better person, and it helped me take care of myself even better. So, I've found joy in the gym again. I wasn't getting injured. I was eating a lot better. I was getting the results I was seeing. And a lot of the people at the gym, even people in the past, like, are you, have you ever thought about competing? I'm like, no, I really have no interest in competing. Like, yeah, I have the discipline to eat healthy and go to the gym, but right now my main focus is just trying to get through life, get through
Yep.
day by day. Um, and I actually have one friend at the gym, like, you should try it. I think you'll like it. I'm like, and I thought about it. I'm like, you know what? Why not? It's something I can check out of my bucket list. The fact that I got on stage, and I got on stage because, like, I'm a very shy person, and public speaking is not my forte. So for me to get on stage and get over that fear of stage fright, like, I'm like, that's something I need to check off on my bucket list.
Mhm.
And then with James, I decided to switch over to competition prep, and we've prepped for about 10 months until I finally dialed on a show, and we started leading up for that show, which is my first show was in March. Um, And after that show, I'm like, wow, I actually like it. Like, mind you, like when I first stepped on stage, I froze and I forgot my routine for a few seconds, but after
Wow.
that, I'm like, it's not so bad. So I signed up for a second show to get more stage time because I was already nationally qualified for, the first show. But like, I need more stage time because being, at a national level, I'm pretty sure all the girls are very competitive. I'm like, I need more
Mhm.
time. Let's just sign up for a second show to get some more experience before I step on national stage. So, and after that, I'm I earned my pro card. So
Wowee.
yeah.
That is really, really cool. And I want to go back to something that you said, which was initially you had started as a lifestyle client and you got the
Mhm.
joy back in the gym and then you wanted to progress. And part of this was overcoming the fear of getting on stage, among other things. But you wanted to get more stage experience. And I had been curious if you feel like your mentality evolved from 2020 into one of a professional competitor, or do you feel like you just always had it in you, and by applying the specific commitment to competing and taking those other action steps helped you in getting there?
I think just being disciplined, being committed, um, this whole journey of prep has been a positive distraction for me. And
Mm.
I say that because, you know, there's a lot of things that happen in my life that's been very, very hard, difficult to deal with.
Mm.
And, we could get into that later as well.
Yeah.
So I use the prepping as an outlet, as a distraction. So it helped me even become more motivated to get to the pro level. Although I am on pro level right now, I still feel like I'm an amateur because I still
Mm.
feel like there's so much more to learn about this sport, because it's only been my first year competing that, like I said, I don't feel like I'm a professional. Like I'm still on cloud nine, but I feel like I'm still an amateur and trying to learn what it takes to be a professional.
Mm. What have you learned so far?
Um, a lot actually. I mean, I've learned, the Olympia points because I had no idea what qualifies you to be an Olympian, or to be,
Mhm.
on stage at Olympia. And um, just, I'm still trying to figure out, like in the beginning, I'm like open. What do I sign up for? What does this mean? What does that mean? What do the classes mean? So
Yeah.
that I've learned, and not all I guess pro shows are just open. There's only just masters, which helps because I compete at masters level as well. And a lot of people that I've talked to say that open is very competitive because you get a lot of the younger girls, who are very competitive. So being at a master level, it's sometimes hard to be competing at an open level. So I kind of just become more open minded that hey, there's a lot of girls out there who are great. And the fact that the sport's very competitive, I'm a competitive person myself.
Mhm.
So to continuously learn about the sports. And like I said, like I'm trying to figure out what the judge wants. Like, yeah, I'm listening to, I trust my coach in terms of, yeah, you're too lean, you're this and this and that. I'm still trying to learn, okay, so the S shape for the side pose, what are you looking for the S shape? I'm still trying to
Yeah.
figure that out as well. Or like for the front pose, you want this, you want that. How do I look? So I just don't have the eye to kind of figure out what pose looks right on me. So that's why I'm trusting my coach because okay, that looks good on you. And I'm like, if you think that looks good, okay, So, but
Right.
I'm still trying to learn that as well.
Yeah, I think you make a good point that even though you have the title of pro, there's part of you that still feels like an amateur. And I
Mhm.
imagine that's why you're so humble about your
Yeah.
journey. And I don't know that everyone would agree with that statement, but it's about how you feel.
Yeah.
And it seems like there's a lot that's evolved, and a big part of this is trust in yourself, your coach,
Mhm.
judges. So how did your approach change as you learned more? Because I imagine going from lifestyle to a pro who now knows what Olympia points are
Yeah.
probably looks different. So can you maybe break down like how your approach has evolved?
I've gained more confidence. I
Mm,
mean, posing hasn't been my strongest point because, like I mentioned, I just started. I've always been the person in tennis shoes and flip flops, even on a rainy day. Like to walk in heels. I'm like, what is this? It's so foreign to me. So, um, posing has always been a weakness of mine, and trying to add personality and have the mindset of being confident on stage, even for 15 seconds, that was very hard for me. But obviously, the more you practice, the more you kind of understand the sport a little bit more, and the more you can move your body that the way of a bikini competitor should be moving. I've gained the confidence as well, and just having the right guidance makes a big
mhm,
difference in how you think about yourself. And
totally.
and I always tell myself, you know what, just have fun out there. If you make a mistake, don't show it, because the judge doesn't know your routine. So if you make the slight mistake, play it off as if it's part of
Mhm.
your routine. And at the end, you did the best you could. You put in all your heart and soul into that routine and being on stage, and like I said, you're already a winner.
I love that mentality. And I think that's really great advice too. I always say that when girls are backstage and they're like, "What if I trip? What if this?" I'm like, "No one's gonna know
Yeah.
like, what if I train? No one's gonna know what your routine was supposed to look like. Only
That's
you and your
yeah.
coach." Um, I did want to touch back on what you said earlier, which was you'd been through a lot of different things in your life.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering, like, what are some of those things that were difficult or maybe informed how you are now as an athlete?
So when my husband passed away, his mom took me to court,
Hmm.
and we were going through a legal battle because she was trying to get custody of my kids.
Wow.
And it was a very difficult, several years. It's just in and out of court and trying to keep a straight, happy face, at my kids, like
Yeah.
pretend like nothing happened. They were very young at the time, and it was so hard for me to really, you know, I didn't understand why this was going on. I'm still trying to grieve over my husband, trying to get my life together with my two kids, and moving down to Southern California to start a new life together. And here I have, who I thought was somebody who was going to support me after my husband's
Yeah.
death, try to take my kids away from me. So I didn't understand why she did that. And, at the same time, like, am I a bad mom? Is this why she's
Mm.
doing this? And um it's been a long, long battle. So I used prepping and just the gym, like I said, as an outlet. It was a positive distraction for me because, you know, when anxiety approaches, I'm like, okay, let me refocus, let me think about the prep and what I need to
Mhm.
do when I get on national stage. So like I said, it's been a positive distraction for me. So I took it as a good thing. Yeah, prep was hard, but I would tell myself, it's not as hard as having somebody else try to take my kids away from me.
Mhm.
So, it's I feel like, what, if I can step on, you know, in front of the judge and show them that I'm a fit mom, and all these false allegations that she's putting against me, I can definitely, you know, get on the cardio machine for an extra hour. I could
Mm.
get up 4 in the morning, go to the gym, and train until I throw up. I can eat my 6 meals a day
Would you do that?
because it need to, huh?
Would you do that? Like train until you throw up?
There are days where, I felt like I was gonna throw up because I trained so hard, but
Yeah.
I don't think I've actually ever vomited though.
Okay. I was like, dang, she
But
really was going through it if
yeah,
she's forcing herself.
yeah, no, but yeah, like I said, it's been a positive distraction for me, and it helped me get through the darkest moments of my life.
Mm,
But it's the court is finally over.
good.
They it went in my favor, and
Nice.
it was just one of those happiest moments of my life.
I
The
bet.
stress level just went down, and I was retaining a lot. Like during prep too, just I was probably about like 5 weeks out of my national show. I was retaining a lot of water, um, because of the stress. And, my coach
Yeah.
had to cut my calories. He had to increase my cardio. And I was stressed out. I'm like, oh my God, like my body's not going to be ready for nationals. And here I am dealing with the court issue. And, but the second that the judge says I was found not guilty, my
Mm.
stress level went down. The next day I dropped weight just like that. So I knew it was just what I was going through.
And when you were experiencing this, I mean, I can only imagine that you're thinking like, one, this is someone who I thought was going to be supportive of me. Two, what a terrible, stressful experience considering I mean, obviously you were proven to be innocent of
Hmm.
whatever she was accusing you of. And so then you're going into that every day fighting for something is inevitable, which is your innocence.
Yes.
And that would take a lot of toll on your body. And then as soon as you heard that you were good to go, it sounds like you felt that relief. But you've said now a few times that competing's really been a distraction. And that word is always really interesting to me because I think there's healthy distractions and then I think there's
Hmm.
unhealthy ones. And sometimes bodybuilding, I think, can become like an obsessively unhealthy distraction. And
Yeah.
other times, like it can be like a really good way to keep our focus and keep our head straight and remind ourselves like life is worth living too.
Mhm.
So when that happened, you mentioned that your coach made some changes, like he was adding more cardio and pulling food back more because I'm assuming your body just wasn't responding. But how did things
Yeah.
change once that stress was relieved? Like what did your body do differently, or how did that change?
The water weight just went down. Like,
Wow.
retaining a lot of water, especially in my back pose. And I can see it. I can see it. And I'm like, why are my lines not sharp as it used to be? And once the water weight dropped and I felt tighter and the lines start to come in a little bit more. So that's when I knew, like, wow, stress does play a big, big, you
Mhm.
know, um, role in how your physique looks like. And, it's important to, like you say, to try to de stress as much as possible. And, like, sometimes things are out of your hand. And I think at the same time, I was actually trying to control the issue. I was trying to figure out,
Yeah.
you know, okay, what can I do to prove myself not guilty? And I literally had to dig back like 7 years of like my husband's stuff. So I literally had to dig back all of
Whoa.
history. So it 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 it,
While
it
processing the
yeah,
loss.
yeah, processing the laws. And I'm like, wow, I had to dig back to when my husband passed away, all these papers and everything
Mm.
so it was hard at the same time, to bring back all the memories that was there. And um but like I said, I'm just glad that I was found not guilty. And it also got to a point where my kids had to get involved too. They had to get interviewed by social worker,
Yeah.
because because she was saying like, no, the mom's lying. I'm like, I'm not lying. I don't need to lie. These are the facts. And then she was basically, okay, well, let's get the kids involved. So I had to get my kids involved. And,
Wow.
as a family, we were struggling. We were struggling so hard and trying to see the positive out of it. It was hard but I had to remind myself, you know what? Everything happens for a reason. I have to trust God. And it's gone to a point where I actually connected more with God during that time too.
Interesting.
because I just felt like I needed him. I needed my husband,
Mm.
to help his kids and to help me and to protect us. And he did, and I constantly try to remind myself, hey, take that time off, even if you're just driving to work or driving somewhere, just to sing a little prayer, talking to God, or, for me, my husband, just even for like a minute or two makes the day so much better.
Wow.
So
And do you still do that?
I still do that.
So, yeah, I just want to say thank you for being so open with all of your
Mhm.
experiences, because I know that can be really difficult to share.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering now, like, in the position you're in, you've started fresh, you've overcome all of that with your prep as well, and proving to yourself what you're capable of. You're working 40 plus hours a week, you're keeping up with your kids. How do you foresee your life in the next like 5 years or so, not just as a professional athlete, but also as a mom, or as a career woman too, or even in dating, if that's something on the table?
Oh, dating at the moment, no. I mean, I dated, honestly, dating is just so different compared to when, I dated my husband, like,
Oh,
years ago.
how
And,
so?
um, you let's see. So I'm 38 years old.
Hmm.
um, I met my husband back in like 2001, obviously college through friends. And, I met my husband through there. And when it took me about 2.5 years to be forced to start dating again after my husband passed away,
Forced.
forced, yes, because my family, like, you know what, Hong, your kids are getting older. They need a male figure
Mm.
in their life. You can't play both roles because it's so much harder, And I'm like, okay, fine. Let's start dating. Let's just start slowing down and, you know, slowly start introducing, men into my life. And it's, you're not dating for yourself anymore. You're actually
Yeah,
dating, like, your kids are involved. So in a way, the guy has to be dating my children too. I mean, it sounds weird, but you want to find a man that could be a positive role model to my kids.
of course.
And I want them to be involved. I want them to to take my kids as if they're his own children. And it was hard to really do. I was very conscious of not having men in and out of my house all the time. If I want
Mhm.
um, a guy to meet my children, it has to be in a group setting. I want to see how he interacts with my children before we start kind of being more involved. So I've dated men who didn't have kids. I dated men who had kids, and it just like, when the older you get, the more you realize what you want and what you don't want. So
Mm.
I was very quick to, okay, this is not going to work out. Bye. I don't have time for this, and I just kind of move on.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, the dating has been, it's non-existent at the moment because, with my transition to Texas, I just have a lot going on. Um, and what was the question again? Kind of
Yeah,
digressed a
yeah,
little
like
bit.
how it had changed or evolved since when you had first started dating your husband. And
Yeah.
then,
So that,
oh yeah, go ahead.
yeah. So that's changed a lot, and I'm not a big, I've tried the online dating as well. And, swiping left, swiping, that didn't work out. I just felt very
Mhm.
uncomfortable, because, I'm very traditional. Like, I want to meet somebody, have dinner, meet someplace randomly at a church or something like that, but, that hasn't been on the right track. But you know what? I trust God. I'm like, you know what? Usually when you're not looking, that's when the right person comes along. So, I'm just going to go with the flow. And, I'm open. If somebody comes along and it sparks interest, then, I'll give them a chance. But, you know, right now it's not my priority to really look for somebody at the
Totally.
moment. Yeah.
And what about your future in bodybuilding? Like, what are you working towards right now?
It's so funny because my coach was telling me that, he was asking, like, what do you want to do now? And I'm like, I don't know. Because to me, I'm like, I'm looking at like Laura Lee and Ashley Kay, I'm like, they're the Olympians. Like, there's no way in heck, like I'm saying, the amateur mentality, there's no way in heck I can compete at their level. But he's like, you never know. And I was talking to one of my friends as well. I'm like, there's no way. I'm 38 years old. If anything, I'll be just competing in Masters Pro shows. And she goes, you want first place in your open, you know, go ahead and just go and, go to these pro shows and see where you place, where you stand, and take that feedback and see if you can improve.
Mhm.
So, I told my coach, okay, let's aim for a pro show beginning of next year, and let's just see where I stand. Me being very competitive, I see myself wanting to go to Olympian level.
Yeah.
But we'll see. Like I said, it's still my first year competing. I'm competing against women who's had so many years of experience under their belt. So um, I'm just going to learn as I go. And, maybe one day I'll be stepping on the Olympia stage.
I love that. And I think
Uh,
it's so cool because it sounds like your coach is really supportive of your dreams too,
mhm.
and has always been
And
very
yeah,
encouraging.
he's been very encouraging. He's been very positive, and he doesn't push. He's like, okay, let's go at your flow. Let's go at
Mm.
when you're ready, let me know. And I always ask him, like, what shows you want me to do? And he goes, whatever shows you want to do. He'll make suggestions here and there, and I always kind of put it in the back of my mind. I think about it. I'm like, you
Mm.
know what? If he wants me to do that, I'll do that. I just got to plan for it. That's all. So,
Yeah.
but right now we're just going on off season, because I've been in prep uh, since December of last year. So I just need to give my body a break, grow some more, and transition into. I just need to settle down in Texas, and with my kids and all. And then I think next year I'll be ready to do my pro debut. So I'm excited though. I already just started. I'm excited. Yesterday, I had a session with my posing coach. So we kind of started working on my pro debut routine. So
Ooh, that's so
super excited.
exciting.
Yeah.
And doing it right at the start of your improvement season is awesome because then you
Yeah.
get to really like nail it.
Yeah. That's why, like I said, posing is my weakness, but I wanted to make sure that I have plenty of time to really put the time and effort and that mindset that I need to really step on the pro stage. So
Totally. And like embodying that like confidence and that belief that you are a pro, like, because you have learned so much along the way already. And I imagine like part of really embracing the pro identity is knowing you do deserve to be up on the stage with girls, even if they have over, decades of experience over
yeah,
you.
yeah.
So what kept you driven to want to even get to nationals and earn your pro card, especially with the fact that you were on a sprained ankle and you had those experiences with the legal battles and you were stressed? Like, what kept you driven?
I think it was the fact that when I told my coach I wanted to compete, he goes, okay, I can make you pro. I'm like, are you serious? Like, I just wanted to do one show. That's all. He goes, I can make you pro. And I just kept it. I took that and I'm like, okay, let's make me pro. And he kept his word. And here I am, a pro.
Love that. And
Yeah.
in that journey, there were a few times you had shared it was very exhausting and you had to prioritize rest and you had injured yourself and you have shared some of that with us already, but did that ever lead you to consider giving up?
So I sprained my ankle during peak week of my second show. And
Yikes.
and that was funny that I was actually walking out of my attorney's office when I skipped a step and I
No.
sprained my ankle. Yeah. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Like, what's going on here? And I wrapped it, I iced it, I told my coach, like, you need to rest. But mentally, I'm like, my routine is not on point. Like I don't feel confident in my routine. So I try to really work on my routine with a sprained ankle. And my coach literally said, do not do that. Right. And she basically yelled at me. I'm like, okay, I really need to listen to her. So I didn't pose for several days, and swelling got down. I was able to pose, but she was like, no more than 5 minutes. I'm like, 5 minutes? That's not enough, but mentally it was actually one of the most depressing week of my life, because I'm like, I felt like things weren't going well with, the legal battle. I sprained my ankle,
Mhm.
and my show is coming up on Saturday. I just felt like a big mess. But, I'm like, I need to trust my coach. I need to trust the process. And whatever the outcome is on, on show day, it is what it is, and at
Yes.
least I have nationals to focus on, because in the end of the day, it's the pro card I want. I'm not going to get a pro card in the second show, like I just needed more stage time. So I can just focus on my pro card after the second show. So that's what kind of helped me get through.
Love that. It was like
Yeah.
one step at a time.
Hmm.
Now, when you were going into universe, you were, I want to get into specifics a little bit.
Hmm.
So, you were eating around 2,300 calories. You were doing only 18 to 20 minutes of cardio. And I was thinking, okay, where was she at before? Like, where were you at in your improvement, or I should say your lifestyle phase compared to prep? And then how does that compare to where you are now after all the prepping you did?
I think so. When I start off with lifestyle, I wanted to cut. So he had me down at, I want to say, maybe starting 1700 calories.
Okay.
1700 calories. He was giving me different exercises to work out on, and I just followed his program, and I found the results. I saw the results I wanted, but when I switched over to competition prep, it was a lot different, because he knew that you need to work on this muscle group, you need to work on that muscle group, so my workout program was tailored to my weakness physically. So and he would give me a set of, you know this is how many exercises you need to do, and you need to basically work out until failure, every set until failure, or else you're not going to see any improvements. And that's when I started seeing improvements, is when I was pushing past my limits, getting out of my comfort zone when it comes to working out. And and I was when I was prepping for my first show, at first he had me down to 1700 calories. But and then I was doing like maybe an hour, a little over an hour of cardio. But I leaned out so fast, I was already stage ready, 7 weeks out to my first show. So he upped my calories, decreased my cardio, and I was at one point, like I said, 2,300 calories, just kind of cruising through nationals. And when I was retaining a lot of water because of stress for the month of June, that's when he cut my calories down to 2,000, and I think I was maybe on 45 minutes of cardio, and I cruise into a universe with that amount. But I think the biggest thing was, when you build more muscle, obviously you burn more calories. So you need more food to kind of, feed your muscle. So
Mhm.
that being said, it's how you work out. You have to push past your limits. You have to feel the burn of, whatever muscle group you're working out. And that's when I saw the difference of how my physique changed so much.
Absolutely. I think that's awesome because sometimes people just go through the motions and then
Mhm.
they wonder why things aren't changing. So, what was it that you did differently in your training to push your comfort zone? Like, what does that actually mean?
It's when you're usually when I work out, every exercise, 4 sets of, maximum 15 reps. And that last 15 reps, it's one of those reps where you cannot make, where you can't lift that last rep. It's when you know that you've trained your muscle to failure.
Mm.
And that's what you want, where if you know that you can do another 5 reps, you're not pushing hard enough the first 15 reps.
Yeah, I love
So
that. That's a really great and clear example.
yeah.
I know there were times in my own journey where it was like, I look back, I'm like, oh, why didn't I know what I know now? If I had known, like, I'd probably be so much further. I would have pushed myself or I would have felt things different. But That's why I'm always glad when people like you come on and share like this is what you can look for and feel for when you're working out so you can really
Mhm.
push that potential.
I know, and I feel like everybody's capable of doing it. It's like all the mindset. If you can tell yourself you can do it, you can do it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And um the limitations that we perceive are often really breakable. It's why people will put on the wrong amount of weight on the bar and they'll think they're lifting something much lighter and then they like
Mhm.
double check their math and they've hit an insane PR. It's like it's about what's happening mentally. So if you're going in the gym
Absolutely.
and you're like, oh, I have Bulgarian split squats today. You think you're gonna go and want to like freaking kill it? Probably not. You're probably gonna
No.
hold back a little bit. So it's important that we bring that like the right attitude into the gym as well.
Yeah, I agree.
So I have some questions from listeners.
Uh-huh.
One of the questions that was asked was, what is it like to be a person of color in this sport?
A person of color in this sport. Um, Honestly, I don't look at myself as a person of color. I see everybody the same. For me, it's just more, will I get first call outs? I want to be first call outs. I want to do this for myself.
Mhm.
So I don't really see myself as a person, an Asian person. Yeah, I may have an advantage of an Asian person because my metabolism is, quicker, or,
Hmm.
I'm smaller, or that, I may have an advantage of that, but I look at everybody equally. Yeah, we could all come in different sizes and shapes and whatnot, but as a human being, we're all the same. We all share the same passion. We're all here for a reason, you know, and yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah.
Appreciate you answering that because I know sometimes that can be a difficult question, but I'm always
Mhm.
grateful when people submit any of the things they're wondering about, and especially when guests are willing to answer. And another person asked, is there anything you would change about how you approached fitness before working with a coach?
I wish I knew better. I think, if I had the right guidance, then I wouldn't get injured left to right. I was trying different sports, and, I didn't, like I said, I was trying to figure myself out, you know, internally, and
Mhm.
if I had somebody tell me and guide me to the right direction when it comes to fitness, I don't think I would have like hip issues or knee issues right now, because I do have injuries which I have to be very mindful of.
Hmm.
Um, but if I had, like I said, if I had the right guidance before, I don't think I would be dealing with these issues right now. So
Totally. I think
yeah.
that speaks to so many people's journeys too, because it's like
Mhm.
the same thing with some people's hormones or health or underlying issue. Even like a lot of the mindset clients I have, they're like, gosh, if only I had these resources before I started, like I'd be in a much
Mhm.
different place. And sometimes like I look back, I'm like, yeah, but sometimes we have to go through those things in order to learn how important it
There,
really
yeah, we
is.
live and we learn. I mean, I don't consider it as a failure. I'm like, you know what? I learned from it, So if anyway, it's a positive for me, because I wouldn't be where I'm at right now if I didn't have those injuries and failures and whatnot. So
Exactly.
yeah.
So, another question that I wanted to ask you about is how you manage your time and your day to meet the goals that you have as a mom, as a dental hygienist, and as a competitor.
Um, yeah, I get this question a lot. So,
Mhm.
to me, time management is very important to me. It's key to lead a smooth day.
Yes.
I mean, I have to, they say that bodybuilding is a very selfish sport, because it's all about you, which, yes, I do, but at the same time, I don't want to take time away from my children. I
Mhm.
mean, they deserve my attention, but at the same time, I need to pay attention to myself too if I want to compete, you know, bodybuilding. So there's a lot of sacrifices that I had to do, which one example is wake up 4 a.m, do my training and my cardio while my kids are sleeping. At least I get that out of the way. So that way, I go back home, I get my kids ready for school, get myself ready for work. I work. And at the end of the day, after work, I'm not thinking about, okay, I need to train, I need to do cardio. It's all about my children. So I don't really feel like I'm taking time away from them. Another thing that I do is I get my kids involved in the sport. I communicate what the sport involves, and they understand. Like, they went to my first competition, they had a lot of fun. I would tell my son, okay, so I have to eat 100 grams of rice. I have to eat this and this and that. I need to eat this amount so I can, feel my body, feel my muscle. And, when I pose, I tell him this is what the sport does. This is how I need to move for this sport. And, my daughter would, they actually both hold me accountable. My son, helps me measure my food. There are days I'm so exhausted. My son goes, Mom, did you eat your meal 4 yet? I'm like, no, I didn't. He goes, okay, let me measure it out for you. So he knows 150 grams of
Wow.
rice, 90 grams of chicken. Here you go, Mom. So they support me so much, and there are times where I would sneak a cookie and my son goes, Mom, does your coach know you're eating that? I'm like, honey, come on now. But yeah,
You got caught.
it's just the fact that they're so involved in the sport with me. I feel like I'm not being selfish because
Oh.
they completely understand, and they don't feel left out. So, there are days where when I have my cheat meal that I make it such a big deal because my kids understand, like, I eat out of a Tupperware, but when I have my cheat meal, I'm like, hey guys, let's go out to eat together. I get to eat hamburgers with you guys as well. So they get super excited too. And those moments that we cherish so much, and we always look forward to it.
This is such a great perspective. And I think it really helps to define that difference between being
Mhm,
selfish and like getting people involved or enrolling them in our vision.
mhm.
Because if you were selfish in this sport, that means you're really not considering other people and you're really only doing this for you. And you don't care how it affects others. But when you're doing it in a way you are, where you're involving your kids, you're educating them, you're having fun with them, that you're helping them to see the benefits of this, that immediately connects you to them, which of course would support a reduction of guilt or feelings of
Yeah.
selfishness, because it's not selfish at that point because you've enrolled them into the vision with you and they're excited about it. And I think
Mhm,
you just painted a really great picture of what that looks like. And I think it's really cool that you're able to do that. And I love how you emphasize how you communicate about the sport with them too. It's not, I need to get shredded and ripped and I can't eat this or I can't eat that. It's like, this is how I'm fueling. This is how I'm recovering. This is what we're
mhm.
focused on.
Yeah, I think when it comes to having kids involved in when you have kids, communication is so big, so key. Children, they ask a million questions, and as long as you answer them, you take the time to answer those questions and give them more, they'll understand. I think that's the thing. They just need to understand what's going on.
Mm. Right. And I think they would want to be involved because like if you
Oh
don't
yeah.
tell them, I imagine they'd feel like, oh, mom doesn't care, mom doesn't want us to know or what's
Yeah.
going on with mom. So let's talk about this incredible evolution you've had, not just as a competitor, but you've also gained sponsorships and ambassadorships. And I think this is something I want to address more on this show, is like how
Mhm.
you went about gaining those opportunities and what are some of the requirements of those opportunities.
When you first start off with competing, at a regional level, at an NPC level, if there's if there's a company that you just stand behind 100%, you can always reach out to them, be like, hey, I love your products. I want to be able to promote them. I want to help, and when they see that you're willing to help and your heart is in there, then, they'll take you in. I started off as just like, hey, I love your supplement company. Like I actually
Mhm.
have affiliate code with Global Formulas. I love their supplements. I've been using their supplements for, 3-4 years, the quality I love, So I reached out to them like, hey, I have tons of friends that would ask me, what do I take, and I'll let them know, hey, it's Global Formula. Like, I would love to support you, and when they see
Yeah.
your dedication, your commitment to their company, they'll give you a discount code, and I have a discount code with, Shoe Fairy as well. And when I became pro, um, Toxic, actually, you know what? I reached out to Toxic Angels right before I became pro because I had a lot of people asking me about, my suit and everything. And I reached out to them to see if I could be a part of their team. But then life got in the way, my move to Texas, court, whatnot, I
Mhm.
didn't really follow up. But then recently they follow up with me, like, hey, are you still interested? We would love you to be a part of our team. I think you'd be a great asset. And that's when I became an athlete for Toxic Angels
That's
Bikini.
cool.
So, it's just the journey that you're in, the commitment, how active you are, social media, just really helps out. And I think if you're proactive at which company you really want to like help out with. And if they see that, then they know.
I can attest to this personally because
Yeah.
I get asked all the time, like, oh, how did you lock in a lot of these like the ambassadorship, sponsorship, discounts, whatever. And like I always tell them, like, I became obsessed with the
Hmm.
company, like with Bam Body, for example. I
Yeah.
love them. I stand behind them 100%. And like when I started having them, it was after I had Stephanie on my, she's the owner. I had her on my podcast. And then she sent me a box as like a thank you, which was like so nice. And she didn't have to do that. But then I loved it. And I remember after that, I did not stop buying them. I acted like I was an athlete before I was an athlete for them. Like I went on every Facebook Live they did. Not even kidding.
Hmm.
Like I'd put it on my calendar like it was my job. I
Yeah.
would tag them and everything because, and at that point, it wasn't like I'm doing this so I can become an athlete. It was more so because I genuinely loved the product. And then I was like, oh, I
Exactly.
wonder. And like, it's not like this is a company that gives out sponsorships all the time. Like most of their athletes have been with them for years. So I was like, it's
Hmm.
probably not going to happen, but I hope for it. And I
Yeah.
think your point about like, you got to really love the company and stand behind them. And
Mhm.
if, even if it didn't happen, you would still want to use them. And I think that's like a testament to what's the word I'm looking for? Like genuineness, you could say. Like it's real. Like you really love
Real, I think authentic, organic,
authentic. Yes,
Yeah.
organic. Those are the words. You got it.
Yes.
I think that's so important. And I just love that that's how you have come to those terms and those agreements as well. And I think that's important for those people listening who are like, how do I get in touch with these companies or how
Mhm.
do I make things happen? I also personally think it's like contribution. So like something I noticed about you, maybe this didn't have anything to do with companies wanting to support you and have you support them, but like I
Mhm.
see in you someone who's open, vulnerable, contributing, adding substance. You got to be willing to like give, so I
Yeah.
think they see that in you as well. And I just think it's really really cool. So I am glad you were willing to talk about that. Now before I ask you for your best advice, is there anything I didn't ask you that you wish that I would have?
Um, so, I'm surprised my view or, listeners and my followers have not asked this question, how my husband passed away.
Do you want to talk
Um,
about it?
yeah, I mean, I really haven't really exposed it to social media. It's not that I'm, not embarrassed or anything like that. It's just,
Mhm.
such it's been such a long road to where I'm at right now, but it's taught me so much that I hope that people who experience what I experience could learn from me as well. So, my husband committed suicide 7 years ago. I
Mhm.
found him when I came home from work.
Mm.
So, this journey has taught me so much in terms of being kind to, this is going to be my advice. Be kind to yourself, be kind to other people, because you don't know what they're going through and you don't know if there's going to be a tomorrow.
Mm.
But it's been a rough road for me, but also at the same time, it's been a great journey for me as well. I wouldn't, it's a card that I've dealt with, and I'm dealing it as I go, and I have my family, my friends, people even on social media that's been so encouraging, because there are days where I'm just gonna be like, oh my God. Like there are days where I'm mad at my husband, like
Yeah.
both my kids are crying their eyes out and I'm like, why? But at the same time, I understand the things that he went through, especially during when I went through the legal battle with his mom.
Mm.
I saw everything and I'm like, I just can't imagine what he went through as a child, and
Mm.
it just breaks my heart that, he's not here physically, but I know he's looking over us and he's protecting my children and I and, his family and his friends. And it's something that I won't ever forget, but time is gonna help you become stronger and wiser. And you just learn how to you learn so much more about yourself, honestly.
Mm.
And nothing can phase you. If there are times where you feel you just want to give up and there's just times you're like, why me, you know like think about what you went through. You're like, what, this is not so bad, it could be worse. And live your life the way you want to live, because like I say, you never know if there'll be a tomorrow.
Yeah. First of all, I am so grateful you brought that up and you shared that. And it's unfortunately extremely, extremely close to home for me.
Mhm.
And I've not talked about it, nor am I personally going to get into it right now. But like
Mhm.
just hearing you say that, I really appreciate that perspective, especially now I'm gonna cry. Oh my gosh, I cry on this
I know.
podcast
I
lately.
told myself, so I'm
Jesus.
like, I hope I don't cry during this podcast because I don't sound very pretty when I cry. I'm starting to cry right now. So.
Oh my God, I swear, like the last 2 months of podcasts, I think I've cried every single one. I'm like, what the
Yeah.
hell? Yeah, when you said what hit me just now was when you said when you think about giving up, think of
Yeah.
what you went through, because sometimes like after you experience a loss like that, man, you you have a lot of emotions. Empathy is not always one that people find for a long time.
Yeah.
With the person that I lost, I had a lot of empathy immediately, but it's traumatic going through that. It's traumatic finding someone in that way. It's heartbreaking. And I I really resonate with your empathy, and I resonate with how you've chosen to view this. I also know how, well, I think it's different for everyone, but at some level it's very relatable. But like I know how difficult it is to also want to carry on after you experience a loss like that.
But I thank my husband, because if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be a IFBB pro now.
That's right. He was
So
such a
it's
major influence.
yeah, he has been. The second I heard that I won, then I thought about him immediately. I'm all like, thank you. If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be where I'm at right now. So a lot of positives, from his death.
Just bringing up a
Are you
lot. I'm
okay?
sorry. I'm good.
I wish I was there to hug you right now. I know it's
No, it's like really beautiful,
yeah,
honestly. The emotions I'm experiencing are just like coming up. It's just beautiful
yeah.
to hear you say that, because I can feel in your journey and in your share that that's so powerful for you. And I love that that was your experience. And
Yeah.
I love the advice that you've provided, like being kind and genuine and not knowing what could happen tomorrow. I think that's like one of the scariest yet most beautiful things about losing anyone we love is you never
Mhm.
know what could, like, you never know when it's the last time, which can be extremely terrifying, but it can also be extremely liberating because it
Yeah.
opens your mind to like, how do you want to live your life and what type of legacy do you want as well?
Yes. And everybody, you're capable of doing whatever you want. It's just as long as you can get yourself out of your comfort zone to do it. And if you can, and if you do, that makes you a winner already. So,
So true.
all of our listeners and followers, like you can do it. You can do anything you want to do. And don't be afraid to do it because you never know where it's going to lead you to.
Absolutely. Love that. And let me just quickly say, if you are struggling with thoughts of suicide or harming yourself, or you are in a crisis situation, there is a new national number. It's 988. You can dial that number and receive support, free and confidential support when in suicidal crisis or emotional distress of any kind. And I think it's important to put that on blast because yes, you can have your coach, you can have a mental health professional, you can have a therapist. When you're in that time of need, it's like so hard to reach out. So knowing that there's something more accessible out there for people is huge. I know you shared that from my story to yours as well, which
Hmm.
is awesome. And I just wanted to mention, like, if you guys are out there, if you're struggling or you know someone who's struggling, provide the resource. Don't be afraid to broach the conversation. Like, there's nothing I've like in counseling and everything, something that I've really taken away is like never hesitate to broach, because if you even have an inkling, you're never going to plant the seed in someone's mind to take their life. But if you can prevent it, or you can ask, or you can start the conversation, it can change the way they view their life.
Hmm.
It can bring up an opportunity for help and let them feel safe in talking about it. So just wanted to say that as well. And Hong, I really just appreciate everything you have brought to the table today. And I want people to be able to continue to connect with you and follow your journey as a
Absolutely.
professional. So can you let everybody know how they could do that?
You can follow me on Instagram. My Instagram username is Hong HUONGM Fit. I'm trying to get myself to be more active in on there as well. But with my life going on and everything, it's sometimes you'll find me, here and there once in a while. But definitely going to try to be as active as I can be, so I can let my viewers know my journey and all my struggles and all my wins and all of that. So
Yeah, thank you.
yeah.
I will put that in the show notes. I'll put that along with your link tree, so the various companies you mentioned can be in there too. And that's always on celestial.fit/podcast. So if you guys are listening to this first thing on Friday, which hopefully you are, then that will be at the very top of the page. If you're listening to this in the future, just scroll down to the category section. It's alphabetized and you'll find Hong's name there, and you'll be able to see not just the links and ways to connect, but you're going to get full episode timestamps, meaning you can go back to when we discuss certain topics and revisit it. You're going to get a full summary of all the topics covered in the episode, so you'll know exactly what to tell your teammates and friends to look out for in the episode when you share it with them. And there's a full episode summary. So of course, if you guys have any guests or topics or things that you want covered on this show, you can always reach out to me on Instagram, celestial_fit, or through my website. I love getting athlete suggestions. I love getting topics, because when I get to reach out to an athlete and tell them that they were super highly requested, it makes them feel so good. And it's just really rewarding for everybody all around. And I think it brings us together even more as a community. So with that said, thank you all for listening. I hope you have an amazing rest of your day, night, or morning, wherever you are in the world where you're listening to this episode.